lecture workshop, then this is for the school students. Now coming to college students, we hold regularly workshops and refresher courses for researchers, college students and faculty through our science academies. These are supported by the 3 science academies in India. And then we have popular science lectures which are organized at college level and supported by Board of Research in Nuclear Sciences. And these are with the aim to take an expert to a college so that the students understand from going a bit beyond their syllabus, understanding what is the current scenario and frontiers in science, how to go about, how to shape their career, whom to approach, and in what way I have to plan my career. Uh, Mr. Kulbir Singh, can you please stop presenting? Mr. Kulbir Singh, can you please stop presenting?
So there's a blue.
So coming to our IWSA objectives, then comes our Science and Our Life series, which are presently going on here, and member enrichment programs, and we have an open air laboratory which is our learning garden, and we have a computer center where children and up to even adults and senior citizens come and learn about computers, various programs and various programming languages and many other skills are learned here. Under community welfare, we have the Working Women's Hostel. As I told you, we have a daycare center for 36 children, where 6 months to 13 years for girls and up to 8 years for boys. We are taking care of these children in a holistic manner. A nursery school for about 30 students, library cum reading room for 20 users, health center where a dentist and physiotherapist is there, and we conduct yearly cancer detection camps and health camps and dental camps. And then we have the scholarship awards where we have created a corpus with the generous donation of various well-wishers, with which we award scholarships, merit cum means scholarships, right from the 10th standard to 12th standard, BSc level, MSc level and PhD level. And we have a very successful program called the Early Childhood and Child Care Education Program, ECCE, affiliated to SNDT University, and which is teaching the pre-primary teachers. It's a pre-primary teachers training program. Next slide, please. So under the Science and Life series, what is the purpose of this series? This is a new endeavor amongst the various others means to take science to society. This lecture series tries to bring to you speakers from all the disciplines of science who can tell us about the things that we always wanted to know. We are always curious to know about various things, but we never know from where to find. Of course, Google is there, but it takes a long time to learn about any particular topic from Google and elsewhere also. Whereas these lectures, give us all the knowledge in a capsule. They help us to understand the basic day-to-day phenomena which affect our lives, and various topics on related to health, education, food, history, as well as the marvels of the myriad discoveries and inventions made by humans. They are being addressed in these lectures. The last 4 lectures which are shown here was on the nuclear radiation by Professor Meera Venkatesh, who was earlier in KRC and then went as a Director of Chemical and Physical Sciences at the International Atomic Energy Agency. Then the physiotherapist Dr. Nigamaja, then on the evolution of the glass technology and the history of glass by Dr. Kotiyal, who is a materials scientist on working on various kinds of materials, and then by Mr. Tushar Pradhan on mathematics behind basic financial concepts. Next slide, please. So today we are presenting before you a lecture by Dr. Harish Mehta, where the purpose of the lecture is let our hearts gather together on this World Heart Day to make the heart green. And yes, can you show the flyer? Then I will introduce Dr. Mehta to you all. Let me briefly tell you about this World Heart Day. This World Heart Day was started in 1999 by the World Heart Federation in conjunction with World Health Organization. And this was organized, this campaign, an international campaign, was to inform people about the cardiovascular diseases, which are the biggest cause of death. The day promotes preventive measures to reduce the risk of cardiovascular diseases. The World Heart Day is a global campaign during which individuals, families, communities, and governments around the world participate in activities to take charge of their heart, health, and that of others. And what do we do on this particular day? We have many health checkups are organized by several NGOs, sports events are organized, public talks and science forums, stage shows and concerts and exhibitions. And today's talk is one of such talks. And let me now introduce you to Dr. Harish Mehta. Dr. Harish Mehta is an interventional cardiologist who is currently affiliated with prominent hospitals across Mumbai, such as Lilavati Hospital and Research Center, Hinduja Healthcare Surgical, SN Raheja Fortis, Nanavati Hospital, HN Hospital, Jaslok Hospital, and Breach Candy Hospital, among others. He has done his fellowship at the University Hospital Bern, Switzerland, and is also visiting faculty at its Department of Cardiology. He has worked as a fellow at hospitals across the globe, such as Lenox Hill Hospital, New York, and Hannover University Hospital at Vienna. He is actively involved with various medical bodies and frequently gives lectures and provides demonstrations of complex angioplasty techniques, and is also the founder of Healing Hearts. Dr. Mehta has been practicing heartfulness meditation for the past 12 years since 2007, and he has been a preceptor or a spiritual trainer since 2015. With this, I invite Dr. Harish Mehta to please start your
Okay, thank you, Lalita ma'am. Now, with great pleasure, we request Dr. Harish Mehta to give his presentation, and let's have heart to heart about heart on this World Heart Day with interventional cardiologist Dr. Harish Mehta. Sir, please begin your
Good
presentation.
afternoon. Good afternoon, everybody. It feels very good to speak to the elite of our community. So, because of people like you all, we have innovations which we can use in the medical field. Thank you, Dr. Dareshwar, for your kind words. Thank you, Dr. Tiwari. So generally, whenever I speak on heart-related issues, I generally like it to be a dialogue or rather than a monologue. So I'm going to just briefly introduce what I am, what I do. I'm going to show you a couple of videos of the procedures we do, and then we can have a question answer session where you can keep messaging your questions on your chat, and I'll keep answering them. That makes it much easier rather than me keep telling you about what the heart disease is all about and all that. So to begin with, I am Harish. I am a cardiologist by profession. I've been in practice since 2001 in Mumbai, and I'm an interventional cardiologist. And actually, you must have heard that name, which has become quite popular nowadays. The word interventional cardiologist. So, what is the difference between a cardiologist and an interventional cardiologist? Well, a cardiologist is someone who diagnoses and treats heart diseases. Since specialties have kept increasing and each and everything has got more and more specialized, and we realize that for treatment of heart diseases, we need to do some procedures, like you must be hearing coronary angiographies, coronary angioplasties, or you must have heard someone has put a pacemaker, someone has needed another procedure. So that is a sub-subject which is called interventional cardiology amongst cardiologists. So it's not that I'm not a cardiologist. I do cardiology also. In addition, I perform these procedures which helps in fixing defects in the heart. Now coming to what defects am I talking about? The whole idea nowadays in heart concentrates around ischemic heart disease. When I mean ischemic heart disease, it means heart disease caused by reduced blood supply to the heart itself due to blocked blood vessels supplying the heart, which are called coronary arteries. So the other name of ischemic heart disease is also coronary artery disease, where the blood supply gets compromised due to blocks arising due to cholesterol deposition in the blood vessels, and that is called ischemic heart disease. But actually, heart disease is not only that. Heart disease is much beyond that. There is something called congenital heart diseases, where children are born with defects in their heart, like they have a hole in the heart, or you must have heard of a blue baby. So these are all congenital heart disease where there are multiple communications between two chambers of the heart, which normally should not be there after birth. Then there is disease of the wall of the heart, which you must be hearing during the COVID time. It is called myocarditis. That means the wall, the thickness of the heart gets affected by infection or any inflammation like COVID. And that is the heart muscle that is involved. And then you must have heard something called cardiomyopathy. You'll hear someone is saying he's got a big heart, it's a dilated heart. So that happens either due to diabetes or blood pressure, or you have a congenital or you're born with a cardiomyopathy. So that's another type of heart disease. And then of recent, lot of attention has been drawn to valvular heart diseases. When I mean by valvular heart diseases, if you all know, there are four chambers to the heart. I'm going to show you on the video. Two on the right and two on the left. There's the right atrium, right ventricle, which pumps impure blood from the body into the lungs. And the pure blood from the lungs comes to the left side of the heart, which is the left atrium and left ventricle, which pumps body to all the organs to give oxygen. Now, all these chambers have a door in between each other, which is called the valve. So the left atrium allows blood to go down to the left ventricle. It will not allow the blood to go back from the left ventricle to the left atrium. So it's a one-way street. So these valves are generally effective to prevent this from happening. But in some cases, these valves become thickened or they become loose, and they allow blood to flow in either direction or reduce the blood, and that can cause problems. And those valvular heart diseases are seen either in childhood, where you have a rheumatic heart disease in India. We have people who have fever, sore throat, and they develop these valve defects, or they come after the sixth decade, wherein they get degenerative, age-related narrowing of the valves, and the commonest of that is aortic stenosis. Well, there are other valves which are called mitral valve diseases. And coming to the other part is that you have defects of rhythm. When I mean rhythm, we all know that the body beats at a particular rate throughout the day between 60 to 100. That's what we call the pulse beat or the heart rate. And that is actually done by a generator in the body itself, which is called the sinus node. This generator sends an impulse, and as per your activity, how much you move, how much you exercise, the heart rate either accelerates or reduces. And this is done on its own. But there are times as you grow older, this pacemaker, the inherent pacemaker, starts failing. And then you have people suddenly falling down, or they get something called blackouts. And then you realize that the heart rate has become very slow. And this heart rate has to be supported from outside using a pacemaker. And finally, how do we support hearts which are weak? You must have heard many times people around you or in your vicinity telling you that my heart is weak, my ejection fraction has gone down, so my pumping capacity is down, which they call left ventricular ejection fraction. Well, there are lots of options to treat these ejection fractions which are low. So I'm going to go one by one and show you a video, and then you can probably have a question answer session after that. So I'm going to start with a simple video of how an angioplasty is done. You must have all heard about angioplasty, right?
Yes.
Yeah. I'm just going to go ahead and start all of these.
Yes.
Yeah. Can you all see the screen?
No.
Yeah, just give me a minute. I'll just present it. Okay, I'm going to present the screen to you. Can you see my screen now? Can you all see my screen?
It's starting.
Just loading. Yeah, just
It
loading.
will start.
Okay. Now
Yes.
is the video playing?
Yes.
Not yet, sir.
Someone said
Starting,
yes.
I think.
Now?
Yeah.
Yes.
No, you have
The
to
playing
play.
has not started.
You have
Okay,
not
but
to
can
play.
you see the screen?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay,
we
I'm
see
going to
the
start the playing.
Yes.
Yeah. Yes. Now we can see.
Yeah. So this is the coronary arteries. That's the blood cholesterol deposition in the coronary arteries.
procedures last between 30 minutes to 3 hours. Once the patient is admitted, his heart is monitored and is given an intravenous sedative to relax the body. A needle is inserted through the wrist into the radial artery. A guide wire is then passed through the needle and is guided through the arterial system up to the heart. A flexible catheter is slipped over the wire and threaded up to the heart. This is monitored using a continuous X-ray imaging device called fluoroscope. At this point, the guard wire is removed and the tip of catheter is positioned to enter the coronary artery. A special dye is injected which allows the fluoroscope to take X-ray images of the arterial interiors and help in identifying the position of the block. This is called angiogram. Once the blockage is identified, a flexible guard wire is inserted into the artery vessel, followed by a balloon-tipped catheter over this wire to position itself at the site of the blockage. Rapid inflation and deflation of the small balloon pushes the vessel wall out, re-establishing the flow of blood in the artery. After the blocked vessel is reopened, the deflated balloon catheter is withdrawn from the artery. The same treatment procedure is repeated in the case of multiple blockages. Most patients may also receive a coronary stent, which is a small tube made of wire mesh designed to keep the artery open once it has been treated. A collapsed stent is placed over the deflated balloon catheter as it is inserted into position. When the balloon is inflated, the stent expands and locks itself into place. The deflated balloon and catheter are withdrawn, leaving the stent behind to hold the artery open permanently. Post-treatment, a pressure bandage is applied over the radial artery to prevent bleeding. One will need to lie down for several hours, during which signs of bleeding or chest pain will be monitored. The patient may either be discharged on the same day or after an overnight stay at the hospital.
Yeah, could you hear that?
Yes.
Yes, it was good.
Okay, so I'm going to give you 4-5 videos of this kind, then we can take questions.
Okay.
Yeah. Now the second one I'm playing is very important, which all of you all need to learn, and there is a course available for laymen. This is if you are faced with a patient who's collapsed in front of you. How do you deal with that? That's very, very important.
Cardiopulmonary resuscitation training video. When a person suffers cardiac arrest, the blood will not circulate and the heart stops to function. They stop breathing and lose consciousness. Without oxygen being passed from the lungs to the bloodstream and then pumped around the body by the heart, the person will suffer irreparable brain and other vital organ damage and will die within minutes. To avoid such a situation, one must be given immediate first aid attention. Cardiopulmonary resuscitation, or also called as CPR, is a first aid technique that can save lives in such situations if performed correctly. Before commencing CPR, the following basic life support steps must always be performed. 1. Check to make sure there is no further danger cost to the rescuer or the casualty. 2. Check for response. Try to wake the casualty. Scan the chest for movement. If the casualty is breathing normally, place him in the recovery position. Wait for medical attention to arrive and monitor the condition regularly. 3. If the casualty is not breathing normally, raise an alarm and call 105010 for emergency immediately. 4. Get an AED, automatic external defibrillator, as soon as possible if available, or ask the ambulance to get one. 5. Meanwhile, check the carotid pulse for not more than 10 seconds. If you find the pulse, support the casualty with rescue breaths. If you cannot find the pulse within 10 seconds, commence CPR immediately. CPR is a combination of rescue breathing and chest impressions. It involves the compression of the heart between the breastbone and the backbone and supplying oxygen to the lungs by blowing into the casualty's mouth. Position yourself in a way that will allow you to apply vertical pressure during compressions. Visualize the center of the casualty's chest and place the palm of one hand on that point. Place the other palm on top of the first and interlock the fingers. Alternatively, you can also grasp around the wrist of the first hand. Either method is acceptable. Deliver 30 chest compressions at the rate of not less than 100 compressions per minute. Each compression should depress the chest 1.5 to 2 inches. After each compression, release the pressure completely, allowing the chest to recoil. After the 30 compressions, open the airway by lifting the chin and tilting the casualty's head backwards. Pinch the nostrils to close the nose and open the mouth with the help of the chin to give 2 rescue breaths. The 2 breaths should not take more than 5 seconds. Continue CPR until the casualty wakes up or advanced medical aid arrives. Defibrillation. Remove the person's clothing and attach the 2 pads of the AED on the chest of the victim as instructed on the device. Once the pads are attached, do not touch the patient as the device analyzes the casualty's heart rhythm. If the AED monitor advises for a shock, clear the patient's vicinity and press the shock button as advised. Once the shock is delivered, recommence CPR. Continue CPR until the casualty regains consciousness or advanced medical aid arrives.
So the important thing here is that nowadays we have training centers which goes to societies and buildings and train people on CPR. And this AED, which is the most important lifesaver, is available at discounted rates for societies where people can contribute each flat. And you can just have one AED in the entire society or a building, and that can be used because that saves lives. So it's very important as a citizen to know how to do this CPR because that's the only thing that saves life. And giving the city of Bombay, it's going to take a long time for any ambulance or anybody to reach you. So best is that we need to learn this, and this does save life. Now coming to the other procedures I was talking about. Now this is seen in children. Children born with a hole, they are called either between the 2 left chambers, left atrium and the right atrium. The upper chambers is called atrial septal defect, and the one on the lower chambers is called the ventricular septal defect. In these people, the children have difficulty in growing up because their hole is shunting the blood between 2 areas which it should normally not do. So here is how you close these without surgery. Similar to what you saw, here you go from the groin. This is from the groin, the same thing which you went from the hand. That's the vein. The blue is the vein, not the artery, that carries the impure blood. The same catheter goes into the right side of the heart, and that's the hole. Can you see a defect between the wall? This is the muscle, this is the wall, there's a hole here. So you cross this wire with a hole, and once you've crossed this hole, you bring a special umbrella device through
हे
this,
कसं तर बंदच नाही होते.
and then you see this umbrella coming out from here. There's an umbrella there that opens that. One end of the umbrella opens, then you pull it against the wall and open the other end and release it. Now it's like a mushroom on either side, and the defect is closed, so the blood will not shunt. This is generally done in children. This at one time was needing only surgery, but now this can be done without surgery. And lots of other procedures I can show you. Now there is this valve problems I was talking to you about. See, when you grow old, your valve starts degenerating. So this is a procedure which we specialize in. It used to be surgical, but now it has moved to doing without surgery. We'll show you how it is done. So that's your heart, which is pumping, and that's the aortic valve. Can you see that valve looks so narrow? It's not opening fully. Normally this should open all around. It's full of stone material there. Now we go from the artery, not the vein, because this is the left side of the heart. And again we cross it with a wire. Then you take a balloon on that. That's a balloon coming there. And you open that valve with a balloon. Can you see that? The balloon opens and the valve opens slightly.
Yes.
But the valve alone won't help because it will collapse back. That's why we bring a valve in there. Now you'll see another valve coming in. As the valve is also loaded onto the balloon. And you deploy that in position where you want it. Again with a balloon, and the stone material holds the valve. When you remove everything else, the valve remains there. So now you can see the valve is opening on its own. See that? The hole is opened. The blood is restored to the heart. See that? Now you can see that valve opening very well.
Yeah. Yes, yes.
And this is done again
full
without
side.
surgery. Very interesting one I wanted to show you. You saw the shock giving machine, right? So there are multiple patients which have a poor heart function, and they continues to get irregular heart rates and the heart stops repeatedly. So if you don't take care of them, they will die. So now we have the same machine which is outside. We can implant it into the patient. So we put it into his chest. The same defibrillator.
Is used to treat a dangerously fast heartbeat. It is small enough to fit into the palm of your hand and weighs 69 to 85 grams. The ICD monitors your heart for very fast and potentially dangerous rhythm disorders. The device is surgically placed or implanted just under the skin in the chest area. The ICD is attached to one or two thin coated wires called leads, which are placed in or on the heart muscle. When an abnormal heart rhythm occurs, the ICD sends a shock to the heart muscle to defibrillate or stop the cycle of rapid twitching. Interrupting the pattern of the rhythm disorder allows the heart to resume its normal rhythm.
So these two wires go into the chamber of the heart. This is the right atrium, this is the right ventricle. So one wire is in the right atrium, The lower one goes to the right ventricle. It has sensors which send signals to the assembly here. That's the generator, pulse generator. It analyzes the ECG. So there's an analyzing algorithm within this generator which analyzes the heart rate and tells the system that your heart rate is too fast, and this then delivers a shock through this and slows down the heart rate. So this is the same defibrillator which you saw shocking the patient from outside. This can be implanted inside and the patient can be shocked from inside. So that's a significant advance that we had. Now coming to another important device we were talking about is these patients with heart failure. You know, I told you that you have a very weak heart. You don't know how to take care of them. The heart, they keep getting repeated swelling of their feet. They get breathless. They get admitted every 2-3 months, and that's the commonest cause of heart failure or heart-related deaths as the age increases. So this procedure has now given a special machine which can be implanted, which takes over the function of the heart inside. It's called the HeartMate. So it takes the job of the heart. So it's like tells the heart, you don't work, I'm going to work. This is generally used as a bridge to heart transplant, or it can be also used for life. You can carry it with you.
The HeartMate 2 is a small and quiet advanced heart pump designed for improved outcomes with a wide range of late-stage heart failure patients who need a reliable, long-term circulatory support. 60% smaller than previous tube intended electric pulsatile organs and weighing only 400 grams. The HeartMate 2 incorporates precision engineering, a simple design, and 30 years of clinical experience. It is intended for long-term support as a bridge to transplant or for permanent implant known as destination therapy. The external system components of the HeartMate 2 include a small, flexible, percutaneous cable that provides power to the pump and is designed to accommodate patient activity. The system controller, which controls pump operation, and the batteries, which may be conveniently run in flow states and enable the patient to resume normal daily activities.
That's how the artificial heart works. And there's another interesting, this is a very interesting one, similar to the one you saw, the aortic valve which was narrow. Sometimes you have a valve which leaks. Now, in an elderly age patient where the surgical risk is high, we can't send them for surgery. So we have options like a hair clip. If you really see, the ladies will identify it, looks like a hair clip, but it helps in reducing this leak. That's why it's called a mitra clip. It repairs the mitral valve, which is between the left atrium and the left ventricle. That's the blue flow, is the leaking valve, which you saw on that. I can show it to you again. This blue flow is the leaking. Normally there should be no leak. It should not go back.
The percutaneous mitral repair system consists of catheters and the MitraClip device. The catheter is introduced over a guide wire that has been placed using standard techniques. The dilator is used to gradually advance the guide into the left atrium.
And you can see the valve
The
down.
guide wire and dilator are removed. The clip is gradually introduced into the left atrium. The clip is precisely positioned above the leak in the valve. The clip arms are opened in the left atrium for final positioning.
That's your valve which is leaking. And you can reposition this in any angle. You can go to 360 rotation.
Ultrasound imaging identifies the severe MR illustrated here with blue flow. The clip is advanced into the left ventricle below the valve leaflets. The clip is retracted and closed to hold the leaflets together to reduce MR. If the MR reduction can be further improved, the leaflets are released and the clip readvanced. Positioning adjustments may be made and the leaflets are grasped again to reduce MR. The double orifice opening allows blood to flow on both sides of the clip. The grasp and MR reduction are assessed before the clip is deployed. The catheters are then removed. Securely attached to both leaflets, the clip moves with the valve, allowing blood to flow through each opening. The mitral valve is repaired without open heart surgery. The MitraClip device is made of metal and covered with a polyester fabric to promote healing. Placement of the clip may reduce MR as shown on the right. Actual results may vary.
So that's how we reduce the flow in a leaking valve. And you must have heard of patients, I don't know how many people have heard this, of irregular heart rate called atrial fibrillation, where the heart rate goes very fast. Yes. So many of these patients have a risk of developing a stroke because it leads to clot formation in the heart, and the heart can dislodge the clot which can go to the brain and cause stroke. So many a times we are offered multiple strong blood thinners. Now some patients cannot take blood thinners due to risk of bleeding or previous bleeding that has occurred. In such patients, there's a device which is called the left atrial appendage closure device, wherein we close the area from where the clot arises. That's called it's a Watchman device, it is called. Similar concept to which you saw, that's how it looks. So you use the echo through the mouth, which is called a transesophageal echo. It's a sonography of the heart through the mouth. And the same process from the groin, go up into the vein. And there you puncture the right to the left, which we will show you here. That's the appendage. That's the area which gives rise to the clot. And that's where you place it. So this area is clogged off, which can give rise to clot. So you'll see the catheter coming from here, and then you make a hole in this wall which is there between the two, and enter the left side. And once you enter the left side, you bring a special catheter in, which looks downwards. Then you put this catheter in here, bring the sheath there, and you have different sizes, the lengths you know. So different sizes are available based on the neck size. The neck size decides the size of the device you're going to use. And then you inject radio opaque dye to see that you are in the right position. And then you bring the device out. It's like a parachute. And this gets stuck there. So whatever clot is formed in this area will remain in there. It will not go out of there. So that's how it looks. Those are the mesh which filters the blood through.
Like an umbrella.
Yeah, it's an umbrella. All of these umbrella-based devices. And after some time, it becomes part of the heart. It gets covered by the lining of the heart. And one last video I'm going to show you before I take questions. This is the first artificial heart which has been used to completely replace the heart.
An artificial heart created by French biomedical firm Carmat that is designed to last up to 5 years was implanted for the first time on December 18th, and the 75-year-old patient who, according to doctors, is progressing well. The Carmat artificial heart's shape and size are similar to those of the natural heart. It has 2 ventricles and 4 valves that can reproduce the pulsatile flow of blood circulation and accelerate and reduce cardiac rhythm according to the level of effort being exerted by the patient. It is made from chemically treated animal tissue to lessen the risk of blood clots and rejection by the immune system. To power the heart, Carmat uses 2 external lithium-ion batteries connected to electric wires behind the left ear and linked to the heart through under-the-skin wires. The system is portable, allowing the patient to return home by carrying it on a trolley or on the shoulders. According to Reuters, the longest a patient has lived with an artificial heart is just under 4 years. Unlike previous artificial hearts, the new heart developed by Carmat is designed to replace the real heart, or at least to provide a longer bridge of time while the patient waits for a heart transplant.
And last is, of course, you can do a heart transplant where if you get a cadaver donor who's brain dead, his heart can be used in people to replace the heart. So I'm going to stop here, and maybe we can discuss more.
Yeah, it is wonderful, doctor, wonderful. Amazing and wonderful what all things are being done inside her heart.
But I think I should thank you engineers for that, because had we not had the science engineers, we would have not been able to do this. These are actually all engineering marvels which are used for therapeutic uses in patients.
That's true. That's true. So, doctor, I will request Suparna, our Secretary of Science Awareness Committee, to carry on the question answer session. Some questions are already given by some members, and some are there in the chat box. So we will carry on the question answer session now. Suparna, ma'am, please.
But just one thing, you can ask me questions even not related to the presentation, so it's fine.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Yep. Can you read out to me, or you want me to read them?
I'll read it out to you, sir. One question was, in the procedure of angioplasty, the walls of the coronary artery are pushed outside, but the plaques are not removed.
Yes.
So fresh plaques may form.
Okay, so true. What we do is we compress the plaque against the coronary artery, and then we put a drug-eluting stent, which are stents which are coated with special medicines, which diffuse into the tissue, and it's like those anti-cancer drugs, sirolimus and paclitaxel. So that prevents the plaque from coming back at that spot. But plaques can come at other spots. How do we prevent that? So that depends on lifestyle modification. That's where prevention comes. So that is done by controlling the sugars, controlling the cholesterol. Always, patients who have heart disease have to take statin therapy. There is no two doubts about this. There should never even a thought come that statin can be stopped. So statin has to be taken lifelong to prevent new plaques from forming. Blood thinners for maintaining the patency of the stent that you've put in. And third is lifestyle modification by reducing cholesterol by diet or medicines, and diabetes and blood pressure control. These 4 will prevent the plaque from forming again. So exactly what we as cardiologists do, we fix the immediate problem. The long term, it's like fixing a car. If the car gets defective, I fix one part of it. But service of the car is dependent on the user. So to service your own body, you are the one who's going to service it well or not service it well. So that whole servicing will prevent further problems.
Next question is by Tejaswini. She says, what exactly is the device made of for inner shock?
Yeah, so it is basically a computer chip which has algorithms placed on it, and it recognizes with sensor, it recognizes the fast heart rate. And the moment it recognizes the fast heart rate, it has a special coil. It's an electric coil which we use for your burner. Olden days we used to have a burner where you have an electric coil. It's a similar coil which is put in that lead that goes into the heart. And this pulse generator has a battery, and it releases current which goes through the coil and shocks the heart. So it's just exactly like a thing which is external shock. It's given internally. So there's a coil, there's an algorithm, there's like a circuit, and then all of that is put in a metal casing, which is placed under the skin.
I'll go to the next question. That's by Divya.
Sorry. Before I end this,
yes.
Important thing is that whenever you have a pacemaker, you should inform your place where you're going. Suppose you want to do an MRI. In some pacemakers of the old generation, MRI was not possible. But the new generation pacemakers, MRI also can be done, because MRI, after all, is a magnet, can cause circuit failure. But now the new devices are coming which are MRI safe, can be used with MRI. But you need to inform the doctor. He can check whether your device is MRI or not MRI. That's very, very important.
Yeah, patient history has to be shared, I guess.
Always, yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I'll go to the next question. The next question is by Divya. She says, since lockdown, she has high pulse rate around 100, followed by palpitation with weakness. She checked all ECG, etc. was normal. Cholesterol and other parameters were all normal.
Okay. So her heart rate going up, if all parameters including thyroid and everything is normal, could be anxiety. And this is very common during this COVID pandemic because of uncertainty, what is going to happen, will I get COVID, when this will end. A lot of anxiety going around this whole thing. So first we need to dispel all fears and understand that if we dispel fears, we can face the pandemic much easier. And second is to find measures how you want to maintain this heart rate at a normal level. So you can try calming measures by listening to music, exercising. But one of the best methods that I have faced and experienced is to do meditation. If you can somehow get into meditation to calm yourself, it will help you in multiple areas besides slowing down the heart rate. According to me, slowing down the heart rate is very small benefit of meditation. But meditation will help you dispel loneliness. You'll be able to take care of these problems. You can sleep better. So for such things, I think that don't try medicine, try meditation. And of course, I'm a heartfulness practitioner and trainer, so I would recommend meditation of the heartfulness kind. But any kind of meditation that suits you can be tried.
Thank you, doctor. I think Divya herself is also a practitioner in that. Next question is by Dr. Dhareshwar. She asks, what is left-sided heart failure?
It's very simple. As I told you, there are two chambers on the right and two chambers on the left. So generally, left side is the bigger chamber that supplies all the blood to the organs. If the left side of the heart gets weak, it's called left side heart failure. And how do I differentiate between left side and right side heart failure? When you have left side heart failure, you have more of fatigue, you feel weak, you feel breathless, you may cough, or you start feeling breathless and lying down and feeling better sitting down, because the water starts accumulating in the lung. Because the heart cannot pump the blood ahead, all this water gets pushed behind and gets accumulated in the lung. That's the left heart failure. Some problems can affect only the right heart, like pulmonary embolism, where there's a blood clot in the vessels of the lung, which happens due to clot in the veins. You must have heard of pilots or patients sitting for a long time on flights, long flights. Their leg veins develop a clot, which can go into the lung. That can cause right side failure. Right-sided heart failure causes swelling of the feet, swelling of the abdomen, swelling of the face, pain in the abdomen because of the enlarged liver. That's right-sided failure. Eventually, every left-sided failure will develop a right-side failure. And every right-side failure eventually develops a left-side failure. But left-side failure is more common.
Thank
Does
you,
that
Doctor.
answer? Yeah.
The next question is, what is the difference between pacemaker and this pump that is installed?
So which pump? I showed you so many pumps.
I
Okay.
think
The pacemaker actually is something that, suppose your heart rate is very slow, which is called complete heart block. So it looks like a shock giving machine, but it increases your heart rate. That's a pacemaker. The same machine, when it detects very high rate, can give a shock. Then it's called a defibrillator. So it is simple, just an algorithm. It checks the pulse, it checks the rate inside, and adjusts your requirement as per the algorithm.
next question is by our vice president. She asks, when ICD machine takes up the heart's work, for how long can this be continued?
Okay, now there's a confusion here. ICD does not take away the heart function. ICD is only for shock. Intracardiac defibrillator. What takes over the function of the heart is the heart mate I showed you. That is different. So the ICD is that like a pacemaker which gives a shock when the heart rate goes fast. That's all it does. Whereas the machine which is called the heart artificial heart or the heart mate, where you put it in the heart and you put the battery outside your body, that generally people have lived up to 4 to 5 years with that, because the battery pack is outside, you keep charging. But it is definitely inferior to doing a heart transplant. Heart transplant can last 10-15 years, maybe longer also. But yes, it is used now. If you have, say, a 75-year-old or an 80-year-old needing a heart transplant, so he won't be a candidate for heart transplant because they don't accept that age patient for heart transplant. In those patients, this can give him another 5 to 8 years of life with an artificial heart which can be implanted.
So, what is the quality of life in that kind of?
You'll be surprised. When I was in Switzerland training for these patients, they walk around, they go to office, they drive the car. In fact, some of them even go hiking to mountains. So it really makes the difference to quality of life.
So the next question by her itself is, what is the percentage of heart diseases in 39 to 50-year-old age group?
Yeah. In fact, in international community, it used to be very low. We hardly used to see 39 to 50. All the patients I remember I saw, most of them were 70 or 75 plus. But in India, we constitute the largest number of young patients getting heart attack between 39 to 50. You will be surprised that every 2 in 4 heart attacks we see are young patients. And that is due to bad lifestyles, bad habits, improper sleeping habits. It's a basic lifestyle mess that is around seen in our country, that we see young and younger patients coming with heart diseases. And that's a shock for us. We are the diabetic capital of the world, and slowly we are becoming the corona capital of the world. So all the bad things, we seem to be getting number one status.
Okay. The next question is by Sukhwinder Santosh. He asks, I have heard of missing heartbeats.
Yeah.
In between normal heart beating stops beating. What is the cause and after effect?
Yeah. So the cause of these missed beats, which are called as ectopics, actually, they're called ectopics, which arise either from the atrium, the higher chamber, or the lower chamber, or the ventricles. Now, generally, many of the time when they are seen in younger patients, they may be nothing. So the doctor needs to decide that what something needs to be done to it or not. But in some patients, especially in patients who had a heart attack in the past, which I called ischemic heart disease, those patients it may be sinister. So there you have to do a special test for a Holter. You must have heard of people wearing a machine for 24 hours recording the ECG.
Yeah.
So there we record how much percentage of his heartbeats are missed. And based on that, we give drugs. And if we feel that it's significantly increasing and compromising safety and can be fatal, then we put a ICD device, which I showed you. And sometimes in some patients, the heart rate, you must have seen young patients, the heart rate races very fast to 200, 220, and they feel giddy and fall. These people have a extra pathway or an extra pacemaker in the body. They are born with that, but it presents at later age of 20, 30. Then we map these extra pathways with electrophysiology, where we take different zones in the heart and find out from where it is arising. And using radio frequency energy, we destroy this pathway so that it doesn't get it again. Again, all this is done without surgery.
That sounds very interesting. Next question is by our trustee. Are the instruments used for the procedure made in India? Are the consumable requirements available here?
Yeah. So unfortunately, India has still not become Atmanirbhar in medical to that extent. Most of our things come from abroad, USA. So, but most of the things are available in abundance here. So there's no shortage of things available here. But of course, like if you want to artificial heart, then it's a process. But yes, most of the things are available here now, and we can handle it. But we are headed in direction of manufacturing this. So we have already started manufacturing our own Indian valves. So we have two Indian valves which are in the market. We have coronary stents which are made in India. So it is changing, it is improving. So it will take another. See, if you ask me, the knowledge we have, it's just that we need to invest in R&D. India is the least spender on R&D.
Yes, I agree with that. Then we have Dr. Vaidya. He asks, you mentioned pacemaker for the slow heartbeats. What if the beats or pulse rate is low as a habit or always low?
Right.
Can it need a pacemaker
No.
eventually?
It all depends on what the doctor sees. Many people have a very slow heart rate, especially in athletes. Athletes have a heart rate between 38 to 50. So they don't need a pacemaker. Or people who are very old, who are say 80 plus, they have 40 heart rate, 46 heart rate. As long as the heart rate is generated from the pacemaker of the heart and is not producing symptoms, they don't need an artificial pacemaker. But if they have a collapse, that they have a blackout and they fall down, then yes, then you need a pacemaker.
Yeah, some people do have low blood pressure. Or
Yeah, so
similar
that doesn't
type.
need anything. No, we don't treat them.
Yeah. Another question is, what is the status of the costs of stents vis-a-vis the government directives? Are they readily available?
Yeah, they are readily available and the costs are as per the government directive. So there is no one in the entire country who can charge the cost of the stent more than the government directive. It's not possible.
I think it's relevant because people have been giving various figures for the stents.
No.
The
I'll give you a ballpark figure whenever you need to put a coronary stent. Coronary stent varies between 32 to 35,000 per stent. And this will be changing as per the tax implications put by the government, but it cannot change much more than that. So if someone is charging 60,000 for the stent, then you can definitely stop him and tell him, sorry, it's not possible. They're not allowed to. I'm telling you, nobody will do it because it is impossible, because that MRP is only capped. So you'll see the MRP written on the box. So there's no question of the charging it more to anybody. It's not possible. They will charge less, but more is not possible.
So we have some basic questions. Is swelling of feet and ankle an indication of heart problem?
Swelling of feet and ankle can be due to multiple causes. So let the doctor evaluate. Yes, swelling of feet and ankle is a sign of left-sided and a right-sided heart failure, as I told you. But every swelling of feet and ankle need not mean heart failure. So let the doctor evaluate, because it can happen with thyroid, it can happen with side effect of some blood pressure medicine, it can happen due to gout, it can happen due to varicose veins. There are multiple causes. But yes, it can be a heart failure. Yeah.
Another basic question: what is ischemic heart disease?
So ischemic heart disease means anything that causes reduced blood flow to the muscle of the heart, and that word is ischemia. That's all it means. So when as I showed you the block in the coronary artery, as it narrows further and further, the blood supply gets compromised. The same amount of blood which was flowing through such a big pipe now has to flow through a smaller pipe and a smaller pipe. It's like talc you see in the tap. The orifice of the tap becomes smaller. So that is called ischemic heart disease. Reduced blood supply to the heart itself, causing heart pain or heart attacks, is called ischemic heart disease.
So another question is: what is heart failure with a normal ejection fraction?
Oh, beautiful. Who asked this? Is that a doctor?
Sir, if she is Dr. Paramjit Antapani.
Yes, I saw that. Very beautiful question. So there are two types of heart failure. As I told you, one is due to a weak heart. We know that. That's called heart failure with reduced ejection fraction. There's another entity which is called heart failure with normal ejection fraction. So in these patients, they have the same symptoms of left-sided heart failure, that they feel breathless, there's water in the lung, they cannot walk, they get fatigued. But if you check their 2D echo, their sonography of the heart, the pumping capacity is absolutely normal. But what problem these people have, that they have problems. See, when the heart pumps, if you see my hand, it pumps, it has to open up. Pump and has to open up. But due to some diseases like hypertension, diabetes, age, valve diseases, or simple diseases like thyroid, this heart pumps in well, but cannot expand fast, which is called slow relaxation. When this happens, the same problem occurs as accumulation of fluid in the lung. So the forward flow is good, but they cannot expand well to accommodate the blood coming in. In the first case, when the heart failure is the weak heart, they have a problem of pumping blood ahead. Here, they have a problem of accommodating blood that comes in. That also can cause heart failure. That's called heart failure with normal ejection fraction. I hope it was clear. I didn't confuse you.
Yeah. Param ma'am, I hope you are satisfied with the answer. I have one question for you from our trustee, Dr. Devki Ramanathan. She says, what is the cost of TAVR, structural heart intervention? What is the useful life of the valves, and are they made in India?
Okay, that's what I said. TAVR, two Indian companies are already making the valves, and both are from Gujarat. So they are making Indian valves. Now the cost of this procedure using the US approved valves is approximately 25 lakhs, all included. Generally, the cost of the valve, hospital, and everything included approximately 25 lakhs. But if you use an Indian valve, then the cost can drop to about 18 lakhs. But Indian valve has not been studied as much as the imported ones are. But yes, they are definitely going to be proven in future.
Another question she has asked is, when open heart surgery is done to replace the mitral valves, we are told that the valves have more than 20 years longevity. How do they compare?
Okay. I'll tell you a simple thing. There are two types of mechanical valves which are available. That is what people should know before making a decision. One is something called a metallic valve, which is made of pure metal and alloy. And the second valve is a tissue valve, wherein the valve is created from either porcine or pig origin pericardial tissue, or bovine or beef pericardial tissue. Tissue valves have an average lifespan of 10 years, and the metallic valves have an average lifespan of 20 to 30 years. Now, the problems of each and benefits of each, I'll tell you. So that's how we choose which one to give what. these metallic valves need the strong blood thinners which have to be taken for life. If you stop the blood thinner even for 2-3 days, that valve can choke and you might need to undergo or redo urgent surgery. So we reserve these valves for young patients who are 30, 40, so that who have a longer lifespan and the risk of bleeding is less. Anybody above the age of 60, we put tissue valves because we don't have to give this strong blood thinner. And we can give them at least 10 years with this valve, at least. It may last 15 years also. And after you put a tissue valve, and if the tissue valve fails, which you put by surgery, you can put a TAVI, the valve I showed you without surgery, and that will last another 10-15 years. So you can buy enough time. And both these valves, the tissue valves and the TAVI valves, are the same. The only difference is one is put through surgery and the other is put without surgery. So their lifespan will be the same.
Third question by
I think Mr. Maniar has a question. Maybe you can unmute him. He's been trying to raise his finger for a long time.
Yes, Mr. Maniar can ask the question. Unmute yourself and ask.
You have to unmute yourself, Mr. Maniar. He's not unmuted. Can someone unmute him?
no, sir. He has to unmute himself.
Then we can't help him. Okay, then we can take another question in the meantime.
Yeah.
Someone
The
can
third
convey it.
question by Dr. Devki was what deterioration leads to the cardio defibrillator procedure? Are these defibrillators made in India? What is the lifetime for these? And does it servicing like the pacemakers?
Okay. So these defibrillators are only needed when the heart is weak and it doesn't, it causes fast heart rate and there's risk of death. Again, unfortunately, they are not made in India, and they have an average life of 5 to 10 years, depending on the usage. How much is it used? How many shocks it has given? How many times it has given a shock? So that decides the duration, and the procedure is just to replace the battery again. So you open that skin area and put another box there, and it starts working again. Some companies offer lifetime warranty, but then they probably take an extra charge for that, where they give you the second machine for free. But I don't know what their cost patterns are. But an average defibrillator costs 2.5 to 3 lakhs.
Sir, I have a question if you would.
Sure, please tell me.
You have used two kinds of insertion. I mean, you enter either through the femoral artery or either through radial artery, right?
Yeah.
So when do you decide where do you enter from and what guides?
Okay. So if you're doing a coronary angiography or angioplasty, if you're doing an angioplasty, then radial functions 95% of times. You don't need the femoral because you don't need big ones. The radial artery is smaller and the femoral artery is much bigger. Femoral is reserved for these big procedures like I showed you, putting the TAVI, where you put the valves, so they can't go from the hand. Or you want to put those devices, the atrial appendage closure I showed you and all that. Those can't go from the hand. They have to go from the groin. So the advantage of hand is that you can get up and walk immediately. The risk of developing swelling or hematomas, or you don't have to lie down for 12 hours because those procedures can give a little bit of cumbersome behavior.
So another thing is when you do that hole in the heart in blue babies, especially when you put some patches to seal the
Yes. So that one is an umbrella you put.
The hole, correct?
Yeah.
So what material?
So these are all nitinol alloys with a mesh, with a filter. They have a Dacron kind of mesh. Yeah. And that is they try to keep a device which is not very easily rejected by the body, because the body should not take it as a foreign body, otherwise it can cause major problems. So they test it all outside, then they test it on animals before it is taken for human use. And they are also treated to prevent rejection. I read a question: how blood pressure pills work? Do we need to take forever?
Yeah.
By Bhuvanesh Thakur. Okay, blood pressure pills work by lowering blood pressure, as simple as that. Now, how do they lower blood pressure? They either act at the brain level, or they act at the heart level, or they act at the blood vessel level, or at the kidney level. There are different areas where they act, depending on the one you select. Generally, if you have high blood pressure, you may need to take it forever, but that's not always true. There are people we have withdrawn the blood pressure medicine. There are people in which we have reduced the blood pressure medicine. But again, blood pressure also is a lifestyle disease. If you cooperate with the doctor, listen to his lifestyle modifications, lead a proper life, reduce your salt intake, lose your weight, exercise regularly, then he may be able to reduce your blood pressure medicines or get off it. But don't try to get off it on your whole suddenly, because that is dangerous. That can cause problems. And I have a very simple question to ask all of you all.
Yeah.
How many people have died of blood pressure medicines? And how many people have died of not taking blood pressure medicines? Once you answer that question for me, you know what you need to do.
Yeah, blood
They are all
pressure
giving.
medicine should be taken. Once
Exactly.
you start, yeah, that is a must. By
So if
not
you
taking, one can die very easily. But
die
if
or
you are,
and suppose you
yeah, you
don't
may
die,
get a
if
stroke. You may
you get
get
a
a stroke.
stroke, if a stroke and you're bedridden, then
Yeah,
you are a total dependent on your family.
vegetable. Yeah,
Absolutely. So a simple pill.
taking blood pressure medicine is very
Absolutely.
important. Yeah.
Absolutely. And why are we so scared of taking blood pressure medicine? We never get scared of eating junk food. We never get scared of eating,
That
having a
is true.
coke.
That is true.
We never get scared of eating excess salt. But we're scared of eating that small pill.
That is true.
I
What is the lifestyle of life
Sorry?
of pain?
Life of,
Pacemaker?
see, average I told you up to 10 years. But there are companies which give you lifetime warranty for replacing the pulse generator. That if you take that warranty, it's not very expensive and it will be lifetime. So once the battery is coming to close to an end, the doctor will inform you. You have to get admitted, and you'll just have to pay the hospital cost and get the battery replaced.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. So, Purna, any more questions, or we shall?
I think
I
you will
one
have
last
to answer.
question by
Okay.
Dr. Vaidya.
I think
Yeah.
Manyar,
Who has
Mr. Manyar, you have to
asked,
help. I'm sorry, I can't help him.
He's
he
not
has
writing it
asked,
also.
Dr. Vaidya has asked blood
Sure.
pressure pill or any other its implication on kidney function.
That's exactly what I'm saying. That people read a lot of unnecessary information on WhatsApp, on YouTube. See, what you suppose you. I'll tell you. Whenever you have a tablet which your doctor tells you take, I'll suggest 2, 3 sites for you. You go there and read about them, and then discuss with the doctor. See what is the side effect of this drug, and will this happen to me? So one site is if you can download Epocrates. It's EPOCRATES. It gives you all information about the drug. Or you go to the Duke Medical University site or any reputed university site, you go and read about it. And then discuss with your doctor, see this drug, will it cause this problem or not? And he can tell you whether this drug, how safe it is, and what are the things you should look for. Many times we read and stop it. There's a WhatsApp circulating. I've been watching it for a long time. See, American CDC has removed cholesterol from the list of causes of causing heart disease.
Yeah.
It is totally a misrepresentation. What CDC has said, that dietary cholesterol which you consume may not be that much of a factor increasing your risk of heart disease. But it clearly says that lowering blood cholesterol to a significant level will help you prevent heart disease. Now you have to understand the difference. Cholesterol not only comes from food, it comes also from inside your body. So you just can't say ki they said cholesterol is not important, I will stop taking cholesterol lowering medicine. Then you will have more and more heart attacks. So cholesterol level has been clearly proven, lower the cholesterol level, less the chance of heart attack. So you have to continue taking a medicine. All it tells you that what you were very strict about your fat intake, you can slightly relax. That's all it means. Now see the difference in interpretation. So these don't go by these circulating messages. They're extremely dangerous and harmful.
Thank you, doctor. Thank you very much. Yes, Suparna, any more questions
No,
from
ma'am.
the audience?
No, ma'am.
Oh, doctor, that is very nice. I have one question.
Sure.
Can be taken as the last question.
Sure.
With your this interventional procedures, that open heart surgeries have become very less.
In US, they've gone down more than 50%. But in India, they're still there because in US, open heart is more expensive than doing this.
Okay.
But here it is still, open heart is a significant contributor. We still have significant open heart, although they are going down. But it's actually, it's a misconception. All these surgeons abroad have now started moving to doing these procedures with us. So the surgeons and cardiologists are working together. It's called a heart team approach. They sit with the patient together and they decide together what is best for the patient, and that is done. So surgeon is equally contributing.
Yeah, surgeon is equally contributing for this procedure.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's nice. Okay, doctor. Thank you very much for enlightening us.
Can we ask Mr. Maniar to? He's still asking.
I'm
the
sure, but
question.
he's not unmuting himself. I
Yeah.
can't help it.
Mr. Maniar, can you please unmute yourself? Your phone is not. It's muted, so we can't hear what you are asking.
I think someone have to call him and ask it.
Yeah. So we'll end it here, the question answer session, sir.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm good.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you very much.
Very
Thank you.
much,
Thank you.
doctor.
Thank you very much, Dr. Mehta, for enlightening us with the latest innovations in interventional procedures in the matter of heart. And you also enlightened us with the lifestyle modifications, do's and don'ts, what we should do, we should not do. Most important thing is lifestyle modifications.
Absolutely.
And
Prevention is the key.
and when we are anxious, do meditation. That is the most relaxing thing than taking medicine.
Yeah.
So we give a wholehearted thank you for this program and for you finding so much time from your busy
I think Maniar is
schedule.
unmuted finally. We can
Oh, very good, very good.
Yeah.
Sir, please ask your question.
Questions. Mr. Maniar.
Hello.
हाँ, Mr. Maniar, बोलिए.
Ashwin Maniar here. I done bypass surgery last year.
Okay.
And I'm doing the medication, heartful medication daily.
Very
and
good.
I'm walking 3 kilometers daily.
Excellent.
Prevention I have to take.
You have to walk, continue meditating, and most important, don't stop medicines and see your doctor regularly.
Yeah, doctor regularly.
And don't stop your medication or meditation. Don't stop either of the two.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Maniar.
Nice, he could unmute himself.
Yeah,
so thank you, doctor. Thank you very much. And I thank Suparna, and I thank audience for becoming a part of this program, and the whole technical team of Vinny, Shia, Ambika. So thank you one and all, everybody, and to feel good from your head to your feet. Keep a healthy heartbeat and remain in touch with doctors and follow meditation and healthy lifestyle. Thank you one and all, and our next talk will be on the same series will be on 17th of October at 6:30 p.m. by Dr. Bindu Menon and Dr. Anita Pillai. That is artificial intelligence and neurons. So please make yourself available that day. And thank you, everyone. Thank you, everybody. Lalita ma'am want to say something?
Yes. Thanks.
Thank you.
Everybody. So let's say bye-bye. Thank you.
Thank you.